We're in Galveston over at the Weiss Middle School, and the reason we're here tonight is this is the second meeting for the newly formed Long-Term Community Recovery Committee for the City of Galveston. They had a meeting last Monday, and this is their second meeting. It's open to any citizen that wants to come and join. And right now we've had a total of about 200 plus that have showed up the last 2 Mondays, and there will be 2 weeks for them still to join. So we anticipate having a committee of approximately 300 people. Well, the goal would be to create a vision of recovery for the community. Number 2 would be to develop key issues that are prevalent in the community that they want to see changed, improved upon. And then from those issues, they will refine those into identifiable specific projects that are key to recovery and key to accelerating the recovery. The interest shown by the citizens of Galveston has been enormous, more so than we've ever expected, more than we've ever seen in any other community where we've done this type of recovery planning. It's a real testament to the recovery spirit of the citizens of Galveston that they've shown. This will be a committee that will have a lot of hard work. It's going to entail a lot of night meetings, giving up of a lot of Saturdays over the next 3 months, but they really have a lot of enthusiasm, and it's very embracing to see this.
Without FEMA as the sort of shaping structure, I'm not sure how we would have gotten through this process. They brought organization, they brought technical expertise, they certainly brought knowledge of funding sources. Keeping this committee organized and in communication with one another was not something we could have, as a community, absorbed. I mean, our planning department was stretched as it was with a number of building permits and inspections.
And so this is an opportunity for us to get all the stakeholders together. This would not have happened on its own with the community. It certainly would not have had as widespread involvement. It wouldn't have been as well organized. We wouldn't have made as rapid progress as we did. So,
the council is back in session, and we will move now. Presentation by Betty Massey, representing the Galveston Community Recovery Committee.
I'm going to yield that floor for just a moment before I start my presentation to Chip Gerlach. He led the FEMA ESF 14 team that assisted the Community Recovery Committee in our work.
What's important to remember is this, and it's like, who knows better than the citizens of Galveston what is needed for recovery? No one. You don't need outside expertise to tell you what the important issues are. You just need the outside expertise to help you put it together. Who has the vision for your future? You do. And who knows how to accomplish all these things? And it comes out, you do. And who's going to do all the heavy lifting that's necessary to do these tasks? And that, again, will be you. And I can say the committee actually did all the heavy lifting of putting together this plan that you have in front of you. Understand this, please. There were 476 projects that they came up with. This is only the vetted version that we reached through a consensus. They got so tired of putting sticky dots on visions and goals and projects. Well, apparently they didn't get tired because they kept coming back. They loved the dots, and they did the process.
Yeah, they're very ambitious goals, Melissa, but all of the 42 projects point toward protecting the island and bringing people back to Galveston. Come Friday evening, the last of the 130 disaster recovery centers is closing, and a new chapter is opening.
Out of 10 community houses, dozens of focus groups, 3 or 4 surveys, hundreds and hundreds of emails, we shaped a vision for Galveston.
Out of that vision, Betty Massey and hundreds of fellow residents have come up with 42 projects to rebuild a livable Galveston.
I took away everything.
So the projects address just about everything. The ones deemed most important include a disaster mitigation plan, a small business partnership, a housing market study, a neighborhood learning center, and a tourism downtown master plan.
Any further discussion?
On Thursday, City Council got its first look at the projects and then voted to get started.
Each of these projects has a value. Some of them simply need to move to a next step that involves a study.
This mother would like to move her family back to the island and thinks having ambitious goals is a good start to making Galveston stronger. And City Council will hold a workshop next Friday to discuss the projects more in depth. In the meantime, you can take a look at them on our website.
This is just a guide. It's a framework to follow. It's a living document. All right, it's not one that's going to be carved into stone. It's going to change. It's one that you're going to keep shuffling the deck. As funds become available and you do different things, you're going to keep moving.
I think I speak for all of our committee when we say thank you back to ESF 14 and the team that learned and worked with us. As Chip said, each of you, and Mr. Woods included, wanted to be sure that this process was open and inclusive. I felt as though there were a lot of people rooting for us, but they were betting against us. They thought we'd explode, or they thought we'd implode, or we'd disintegrate, or we'd fall apart. But we didn't. And we stand before you today, and I'd ask everyone who participated on the committee to go ahead and please stand now. I would attribute the successful process and successful conclusion to this task to three factors. The first one is that really early on, we figured out that we're one island. We're one community. It isn't about East End versus West End. It isn't about people who live behind the seawall versus people who don't. It isn't about green Galveston or those historical people versus the business community. The second thing that we realized early on in the process is that there are a whole lot of legs to recovery. What recovery is all about is making Galveston a livable community once again. Hurricane Ike and the winds and the water of that storm took everything away from us. It took our businesses. It took our schools. Recovery had to be about everything. If you limited it to infrastructure, or you only talked about jobs, or you only talked about housing, what you'd be rebuilding is a lopsided community. The third thing we figured out early on is that it wasn't going to be good enough to just take our community back to where we were on September 12th of last year. We had to be stronger, more resilient, and more sustainable. Overarching this entire process were issues of disaster planning and hazard mitigation. We knew this plan needed to take Galveston to a better place. We listened in focus groups, we listened via email, we listened in community open houses, we listened via surveys. We had committee members who actually developed their own surveys and sent them out. What we heard loud and clear from the hundreds and hundreds of Galvestonians who talked to us in all these different venues, we heard that our citizens want a community that behaves in an environmentally responsible manner. The projects contained in the report that you received this evening address all those legs of recovery, all those aspects of recovery.
And I second it.
I have a motion to accept the report as presented from Mayor Pro Tem Webb.